hang on it like this.
No!
Call for help, will you? For crying out loud. See you later.
Coming up tonight, co-founder of the EFF, John Perry Barlow, fights for your privacy. Plus, protect your broadband network from intruders. And a security technologist and encryption expert tells it like it is. Bruce Schneier's here with much more. Live from the Tech TV studios in San Francisco, it's a special Take Back Your Privacy edition on the Screensavers!
Welcome to the Screensavers. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Kevin Rose. Thanks for joining us for a very special hour of TSS Take Back Your Privacy.
Nearly everything you do online is open. Every time you surf to a website, you download a file, you send an email, you could be leaving traces of your personal information every step along the way if you're not careful.
Could be your IP address, your name, a phone number, your browsing habits, any number of things.
It's kind of sketchy. So today we're going to show you the basics of keeping your personal and private information personal and private from hackers, big business, or big business as we like to say it when we can actually pronounce things, and of course the man. Matter of fact, co-founder of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, John Perry Barlow, is going to talk to us about two very serious privacy issues. Trusted computing is coming from Microsoft and the United States Patriot Act.
Yes, and I'm going to show you how to secure your home network against hackers, viruses, and pretty much all things evil.
Or at least all things nasty.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we're going to talk about one of the leading security technologists out there, crypto maven Bruce Schneier. That's going to be a good one. And Sarah's got some good stuff for us today.
I have yet more tips. This is like a tip-heavy show. Just little things that you can do with existing programs that you probably already have running on your computer to be more private. Keep yourself under that cloak.
Nice.
Dan's got the phones.
Yes,
What's going on back there?
Yes, we're doing some privacy questions today. We actually have a good one regarding who is coming up. So give me a call. It's 888-989-7879. And also email us at thescreensavers@techtv.com. And also a reminder, if you're on the Netcam, you get a free Screensavers t-shirt. Yay! Back to you guys.
Dan's like so excited about that free t-shirt. He has like 500 at his house, guaranteed.
Yeah, it's that t-shirt and the 500 Tech TV Screensavers t-shirt.
That's right. Let's start with the tech news that caught our eye today. Sarah has the first story.
Yeah, sorry, I have some in my eye here. But that won't keep the technology away. Thanks so much. Yeah. Okay, open source heavy hitters are coming together for a very good cause. Just who are these heavy hitters? Mozilla, venerable maker of several open source web browsers, and GNOME, the popular Linux desktop environment. So what's the good cause? To beat Microsoft at their own game, because Microsoft's Longhorn OS will feature unprecedented integration between the web and desktop. Mozilla and GNOME plan to integrate Mozilla's web features into the GNOME desktop as well. What do you think? You think they're going to be legitimate competition for Longhorn?
I don't know. Whatever happened to keeping IE out of Windows?
Well, you know, once the fees were paid,
then they're going to go right back and do it again.
I don't know. It seems like it's interesting to watch, right? We've seen everything from like 3 years ago. Somebody said Intel's going to create a ring -1, and what's going to happen to ring -1 will be able to pass information that your processor can't actually access without having special software and blah, 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 blah. But the end result is that where Microsoft wants all the business from the MPAA and the RIA to control all the content you can play on your PC, and by the way, accidentally control whether or not you can play movies or music on your system.
So this is all coming up in that new operating system, Longhorn, that we keep hearing about. Which is supposed to
the
come
one
out,
that gets bigger and bigger and farther and farther away.
2007, they're saying? Or?
Longhorn, a great reason to move to Linux.
Yes.
Or
we're hoping that this collaboration between the two companies is going to create somewhat of a competition for Microsoft, or at least a product that can, help woo the people away from Windows.
Yeah, nothing else. And you know what? Mozilla, great browser, more secure than Internet Explorer. Check it out when you get a chance.
Yes, indeed.
All right, moving right along. Looks like the recording industry of America has struck again. Yes, bad news for college students. This time the RIAA has targeted 14 different universities, which brings the total today to 477 anonymous music file swappers at these universities issued copyright lawsuits, bringing the total number of people sued to nearly 2,500 in the last 8 months. That's what happened.
What are you going to say? We got a couple emails yesterday. It's like, I was using this program, and it was supposed to hide my IP address, and I got nailed. And it's like, guess what?
Well, from what we've heard, is it not true that the people that are getting caught are the ones that are sharing the music, not the ones downloading? So
primarily,
as long as you don't share, or I'm just trying to help these kids out a little bit.
Yeah, but maybe phase one is you eliminate most of the people sharing, and phase two is you go after people downloading.
Right.
The flip side is like, in theory, they're going after egregious shares, people, with sharing thousands of tunes and leaving them up, making them very easy to target, by the way. People are moving to other file services other than Kazaa, which has been one of the primary targets. People are moving to legal download sites. But the truth is guess what? Right now, unless there's some fundamental changes in the way peer-to-peer trading is handled, and copyright law in the United States, you run a risk, so be aware. And hiding behind a university network is probably not going to do it. Because they're starting to find local peer-to-peer groups that are running inside of small university and business networks, and they're
sharing
those
right inside the network. They're getting in with the network administrators and then finding out what's going across the wire and cracking down.
So watch
out.
Network connection. Good stuff, Sarah.
Thanks for the news.
Thank you, men. Have a good show.
Thank you, Sarah Cronkite.
I don't really know.
That's the way it was.
I just did that. It just came out.
I don't know what to say. Chris Jones is on the phone from, is it Topsham, Maine, Chris?
Yes.
How are you doing today, Chris?
Not bad. Yourself?
Doing pretty good?
A little wound up, a little uptight. Pretty serious show today.
As it should be. Well, on to my question for you. When you register a domain name on the web, the information that they collect is stored in the Whois database. Go in and look it up. Some of these sites I'm looking at offer a private registration for an added price. Is this something that you believe is worth the money? Does it really make that much of a difference?
How much are they charging you for this service?
It's additional $9 a year.
$9 a year.
Cheaper than buying a post office box.
That's true. What he's talking about is that every domain name that is registered, whether it be kevinrose.com, patricknorton.com, whatever it is, has information to tie to it as far as who owns that domain. And you can go to any number of sites. One that I like is betterwhois.com because it searches all the different registrars. And here I typed in whois kevinrose.com. And what it will do is it will give you some information as far as who actually owns that domain, where the name servers are being hosted, the last time the domain was updated, when the domain will expire, if you want to grab it. And here is the information for my account. Now, if you look at here, most domains, most people, 99.9% people out on the web today, are going to have their personal contact information here, i.e. their address, their personal email, and that is not a good thing.
Yeah, if you really hate the guy that owns DancingWeasel.com, you can go to Whois, you can search Dancing Weasel, and you can probably, if not get
turn
them
up at
on
his
the phone,
doorstep if you wanted to.
Which is a little frightening.
It is.
It's interesting, like if you look at certain staff members, Whois, if you look up on Whois on some of the people that are on television here at the Screensavers, you'll find out that their mailing address is either 650 Townsend or 535 York, or they just didn't bother to fill it in.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't bother to fill it in, or you put in some fake information, should something happen to your domain where there's a dispute or something, you can't prove it's you, it was in somebody else's fake name. It's not a good idea to put fake information in your domain Whois. So that being said, if you want to keep everything private and secure, you can either use a post office box and like a Hotmail email address or something along those lines, or you could do something like I did here, where I paid the extra couple dollars per year, and I have an anonymous service. It's called the Whois Protection Service at protectfly.com. And I don't remember exactly what the fees are. It's only a few dollars per year, like he was saying there. His was $9 per year. I think mine's $5 or something like that. But they keep all of your contact information private. Supposedly
it's like
they
having
do.
a secretary for your
exactly.
For your
and
addresses.
should an inquiry come in about who you are, or they need to get a hold of you, they then forward the appropriate information on to you. So it's a nice way to keep your domain safe and out, out of prying eyes. But again, make sure that you're going with a company that you know who they are. I mean, you don't want to go with an anonymous protection service and then have them turn out to be a hoax and they scam your domain, or who knows what might happen.
That would be bad. Well, just out of curiosity, Chris, were you just worried about having your name and address and phone number out there? Or are you planning on ticking a lot of people off? Or
Not planning on ticking a lot of people off, but the actual physical address up there is kind of what got to me, and maybe the phone number too. Don't want those phone calls at like midnight.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is one of those situations where, the system was set up back in the day when like 8 people were using the internet, and if they called each other, they already probably had each other's phone numbers. So it's one of those things, as the internet has grown larger and more people are using it, it becomes a little more threatening. So
Make sure the service is ICANN and accredited for whoever registers your domain name, and most likely they'll offer the protection service as well. This one is protectfly.com. I've been using it for a while. I really like it. Good service.
There you go, Chris. And you know what? You get a TSS shirt for being...
Oh.
You get a
NetCam.
TSS Instant Football T-shirt for being on NetCam. We're just getting started. See if I can hold it up right today. Ooh, the vintage T-shirt. It's black. Sarah's got a handful of software to help you stay secure. And after the break, co-founder of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, John Perry Barlow, tells us why he thinks trusted computing and the U.S. Patriot Act are stomping on our privacy. All coming up when the screensavers continue.
Our first guest not only wrote songs with the Grateful Dead, but he's also a retired Wyoming cattle rancher, a Berkman Fellow at the Harvard Law School, and the co-founder and vice chairman of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, John Perry Barlow. Welcome, John. So we're talking about personal privacy here on the Screensavers today, and the EFF has been fighting for our rights for about 15 years now.
God, yes.
Tell me, what is the goal of the EFF?
Well, the goal of the EFF is, as it's always been, which is to keep cyberspace open to thought, to make it.
We got some fans for that.
Our goal ultimately is to make it so that anybody has something useful and interesting to say anywhere on the planet, that anybody who's interested in it will be able to hear it.
That sounds good to me. And one of the battles you've been fighting recently has been the Patriot Act. Now, this was something that was created supposedly to help us from terrorism. What's the problem with the Patriot Act?
I don't think that this was created to help us from terrorism at all.
That's what the general public was led to believe.
Maybe so, but I mean, all these things had been in the filing cabinets of the control freaks for a really long time, and they sort of sprung over a period of a few hours into legislation. Congress spent more time arguing over the name than they did actually the content of the legislation. And it is filled with things that are patently unconstitutional. Now, fortunately, the government has not used most of these provisions. I mean, I think with the knowledge that if they did, they'd be taken to court and the provisions would be thrown out. They're there to a large extent in abeyance. They could be used.
Tell me about some of them. What exactly can they do under the Patriot Act?
I think one of the most pernicious provisions is Section 215, which makes it possible for the government to get any commercial or public database, library records, consumer rights, or consumer relations data, you name it.
Well, they'd have to go get a warrant or something along those lines.
What they have to get is a rubber stamp warrant. This doesn't require, as in the past, naming a specific party.
Oh, really?
They can go data mining. They can go on a fishing expedition. They can grab the whole database and look for terrorists. And furthermore, if they've decided to do that, if anybody reports them, they have committed a criminal act. So if your database, if you're a small-town librarian and the FBI comes in, which they have in quite a few cases, and wanted to know who was checking out certain kinds of books, if you call the local newspaper and say, the FBI just came and is monitoring what books you check out, you've committed a criminal act.
Now, wouldn't the FBI just say that, we're the only reason we don't want anybody to report it is if we're, doing some undercover surveillance on terrorists?
I don't care what they say. That's prior restraint. It's, seriously unconstitutional. And furthermore, I think that when we're no longer investigating crimes, but investigating populations that might commit crime, we've crossed a really important philosophical line that I don't think is tolerable under American principles of government.
I heard that somewhere that they had done a search for people who were buying hummus because they thought terrorists might purchase hummus.
Exactly, and not to mention graduate students.
Is that true? That actually happened?
Yes, that's true. EFF got involved in a case where every dive shop in America was being asked to report who had been taking diving lessons on the premise that terrorists would be taking diving lessons so that they could mine ships in our harbors. And this is such a wide net, if you will.
Yeah.
That it's just.
What can we do to protect ourselves or to fight back?
Well, the most important thing you can do is to find out as much about the Patriot Act as possible, and I obviously recommend EFF's resources in this regard. But write your congressman. The Patriot Act is up for renewal, and make it clear to your congressman that you don't want it renewed, and support the the huge effort that's underway, I think something like 275 different cities and towns in America have passed resolutions saying that they do not support the Patriot Act and will not allow their police officers to conduct searches under Patriot Act guidelines. And I think, if your community hasn't done that, get them to do it.
Sounds like a good idea. Now, we talked about earlier in the show, GNOME and Mozilla are trying to fight against Microsoft's trusted computing push. What do you think about their trusted computing in Longhorn that's coming out here in the near future?
I think it's extremely... trusted computing is a lot of different technical specifications. Right. Some of them I think are essentially benign, but it appears that the direction that most of them are headed as they develop is toward digital rights management. But the kind of digital rights management that they are proposing involves a great degree of privacy sacrifice. As I understand the current architecture, one of the things that would happen in a trusted computing environment is that any file that you manipulate, any file that enters your computer and then leaves your computer, has your unique ID attached to it. So it's very easy to see what has gone through your computer and whether or not you've changed it in some way. So what you have is a system that may be designed for digital rights management, but it would be so easily adapted to political rights management.
So that's the main issue. Obviously antivirus companies and things of that nature are going to say, well, that could be a good thing because then we can find out where documents originated from, track viruses.
In that respect, it would be a good thing. But when you think about the other consequences, when you think about everybody's work being visible to anybody who wants to see it and everybody's opinion being easily traced through the internet, when you think about the fact that we're talking about fundamentally changing the architecture of the internet and computing in general, primarily to suit the content industry, I think you see how short-sighted this is and how dangerous it is to privacy.
Do you think that's going to push other people to different operating systems like Linux and the ones that are open source and actually let you view all the source code, what's going on behind the scenes?
I would have thought that, the impossibility of using Windows would have done that already.
Yeah.
And
it has for a lot of people.
It hasn't.
OS 10, a lot of people have made the migration, at least a few of my friends have.
Yeah, but I bet your friends are all geeky.
They are geeky. Yeah. That's true.
The irony is that it's the geeks that are going to OS 10 and Linux when Windows is much harder to use.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether that's going to have that effect or not. But I think that people need to be very thoughtful about whether or not they upgrade to Longhorn, and I personally strongly recommend that they do not.
Well, we thank you for your help, and we're definitely going to be following Longhorn as it gets closer to release. And, of course, your website, the EFF.org, for more information and all information regarding all different types of topics. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
And for the links to find out more about the U.S. Patriot Act, Trusted Computing, and the EFF, dig into our show notes at thescreensavers.com. Now, still to come, is encryption irrelevant to privacy? We'll talk to encryption expert Bruce Schneider. And up next, Sarah has some software to secure your machine from prying eyes when the Screensavers continues.
Welcome back. Let's turn it over to Sarah, who has some nice free software to help keep you secure.
I've got free software and free things to do with software you already have. They're little things, but they're important things to keep your privacy more intact. Of course, it's a privacy special. Why else would I be here? Here are a few easy tricks I found along the way. The first one, get a Secure FTP client. The one I'm actually using here is called Secure FTP. Uses 128-bit encryption, of course. And the nice thing about that is that, it's encrypted. Kevin, which one is the one that you like? Smart FTP, which you like, but doesn't use.
Yeah, Smart FTP doesn't use encryption. I use Qt FTP Pro, which is cool.
Which costs money. The nice thing about Secure FTP is it's free. It runs with Windows, OS 10, and Unix, where Java is present. It's entirely written in Java, and you can use it as an applet or an application. Fun. So the next thing that I would suggest that you do is encrypt your AIM, or of course use another encryptable IM client like Trillion or Hush Messenger. But if you encrypt your AIM, another thing that Kevin showed you some time ago was something called AIM Sniff, and that is people can read your AIM conversations unless you encrypt your conversations. Who doesn't want to encrypt your conversations? Because we're always gossiping about other people, stuff like that. With a program called AIM Encrypt, which is also free, it takes like 30 seconds, and as you can see, my little conversation now, I've got a little lock by my name, and people are going to start bugging me right about now. Okay, don't bug me, everybody. Now, oh, shoot. Why did I do this? You know what? I'm just closing this down and go. Now, one thing to note is that your friend, whoever you're talking to, also has to have their AIM encrypted. They can do it. You can do it. It's completely free. Moving right along, we want to password protect our Office documents. I'm going to click over to my Office document here. This is a tip that I showed you the other day. With Word, Excel, PowerPoint 2003, you now have the option to password protect any document you want. So all you do is go into Tools, Options, Security tab, and then enter any password you want to now encrypt, or I'm sorry, not encrypt, password protect this document. So, you know, I get a lot of emails from people saying, well, I don't want my kids to open this file. Can I hide it? Well, you can certainly password protect it, and they're never going to get in. That works really well. Another thing that's great about Office 2003 is the feature that they have in Outlook, which you can automatically select to not download images that come in spam messages. The reason that you want to do that is because your computer is accessing images that are stored on the spammer's local computer. They know who you are. They can figure out your IP address. They know that you're alive. Even if you delete the email and block them forever, they can sell your name to other people. It just propagates. You want to turn this stuff off. Another cheap alternative to Outlook, because Outlook, you know, if you're buying it by yourself, I don't know, it's like $100 or so, is PocoMail. We've talked about this in the past. PocoMail has all those features and some other fun stuff. You can sanitize your HTML. You can strip out the images entirely. PocoScript is another nice way. It doesn't read VBS script, which a lot of viruses are written with, so it won't even recognize that kind of stuff. So that works really well. Did I cover everything? I think I did. Yeah, I did. I have links to everything that I just talked about, every download, every product, every tweak, and I also have a good registry edit for you Outlook 2002 users who also want to strip out images in Outlook. I have that too. Get it all for yourself. Get uber secure, or people like us are going to know all your secrets. You don't want that. That's you guys.
I like the PocoMail. It's a great alternative for people that are using Outlook Express. Outlook Express is free, but it's so much better. It helps out a lot.
Yeah, free is about all Outlook Express has going for it.
Now, here's Dan. Take a deep breath. Dan with a quick tip.
Thank you, Kevin. When you're online, security should be your primary concern. So Kevin has written an article that is sure to secure your box. So go to thescreensavers.com/show notes to get the basics and not so basic tips. For example, learn how to secure your files with PGP and lock down your email with 2048-bit encryption. That is some security for sure. But don't go anywhere. Tips for securing your home network are just ahead. And after the break, security and cryptography expert Bruce Schneier will be here to tell us why encryption is irrelevant to ensuring your privacy on the internet. All that when the Screensavers continue.
Natives are restless. We want to welcome you back to a special Take Back Your Privacy edition of the Screensavers. I'm Patrick Norton. Now, coming up in this half hour, Securing Your Network 101. All you need to know to cover the basics of security on your home network. And we're going to direct you to a few more resources to help you take back your privacy online. Or can you? Our next guest, Bruce Schneier, is an expert in computer and network security, not to mention probably the guy I would go to if I had an encryption question. Boy, I'm going to learn how to read someday today. Welcome to the show, Bruce Schneier.
Hey, thanks.
You made your name really, and talking about cryptography and encryption in general. You're the CTO of Counterpane. You were pretty serious about keeping online or the web and companies secure. What do you guys do primarily at Counterpane?
Counterpane does security monitoring. Mm-hmm. We do outsource security. The basic idea is that security requires a lot of expertise. I mean, Sarah gave some easy tips, and there are a whole lot of hard things to do. And for most companies, they don't have the expertise. Mm-hmm. So we do outsource security, monitoring and management and consulting. Mm-hmm. So when companies have security problems, I mean, it's for large networks, not for individuals.
Right.
When they have security problems, they can come to somebody who knows what's going on and can help them.
When we were talking, earlier before the show, and as you said, you started out in cryptography. You're saying encryption really, isn't that useful for privacy on the web? Yeah,
it's interesting because there's a whole lot happened in the cryptography wars in the 90s. Mm-hmm. We're fighting the government on the Clipper chip and keeping encryption for the masses. Mm-hmm. And it turns out we actually made a big mistake. a lot of the attacks and the threats are not about eavesdropping. You know, Sarah's tips about encrypting messages back and forth are a very small part of the problem. The real problem is about control of the computer. So I'm more worried about Trojans and spyware and hackings into computer networks, because encryption doesn't matter there. If someone can seize control of your computer, it doesn't matter if you encrypted your data, because as soon as you start using it, it's going to be available. And that's a much harder problem.
It also sounds like we've moved from talking about a fundamental hiding your data issue to a fundamental just giant gaping holes in the operating system.
Yeah, even worse, we moved from sort of a math problem where, I mean, the neat thing about encryption is that the defender has the advantages. And the vagaries of the math are on the side of the defender, not the attacker. But computer security, firewalls and attack tools and vulnerabilities and attack software is much more of an arms race. It's much more even. So you're seeing this attack, defense that you don't see when you're using encryption. So not only is it harder, but the defender has much less of an advantage.
I was going to say, why does it always feel like, you know, if you're defending Windows, it always seems like you have much, much, much less of an advantage compared to, it always seems like, you know, Windows is terminally on the defensive and advancing to the rear as quickly as possible.
Well, you can blame Windows, and there's a lot of things to talk about Microsoft, but in general, this is something that we've seen in the history of war. There's a notion called the position of the interior. So the defender is a ball, and they have to defend against every possible attack. The attacker just has to find one way in. He can target his resources in one direction. This is why securing a computer is hard. This is why securing a nation against terrorism is hard. There's an inherent advantage to an attacker who can choose his time and place and method of attack.
Earlier you brought up, you know, defending a nation from terrorism. It seems like there's a fundamental conflict, certainly in D.C. right now, between the idea that, you know, by the way, there is a Bill of Rights, there are some amendments, and the idea is that they protect you against the interference of the government. Do we have to give up privacy to be secure in our networks, to be secure in our country?
Yeah, I don't think we do. There's a notion that privacy and security are opposites, that you trade one for the other. And
I would think they would, but
they don't. I mean,
you need a secure system to be private. Otherwise, anybody can walk in and say hello.
Right, but think about, I mean, take an easy one. Take airline security. The two things that have done the most good, reinforcing the cockpit door and the passengers knowing they have to fight back. Those two security measures don't affect privacy at all. Generally, security measures that affect privacy are less effective. There's also a notion of different threats. You know, Barlow talked about trusted computing. And here you have the content providers trying to build a system that is secure for them. But by doing that, they're opening up users to other threats. Right now, our nation is stripping away constitutional protections from people to try to protect them against terrorism. Well, even if it does that, it's stripping away protections against government abuse. You know, all of these due process laws were put in place for our security. And to take them away, we get less security. You always have to balance the different attackers. I mean, even on a computer network, we're worried about the threats of hackers. We're worried about the threats of spammers. We want to be able to do certain things. We want to engage in commerce. And there's not just one type of attacker. And things we do to defend against one might make us more vulnerable to another. You know, we don't like it when, you know, spyware, which might be there for legitimate reason.
Or relatively benign legitimate reasons.
Right, but it opens us up to other attacks. You know, Microsoft Update is a great idea for a feature. I mean, it pushes down patches, but if those patches actually break your computer,
or if somebody can spoof the server,
it's opening yourself up to another attack. You always have to play this balancing game.
What do you think should we wipe the floor? Should we start over with fresh new operating systems? And do we, you know, obviously I know you probably don't want to re-architect. I mean, nobody, I think, in the right mind wants to sit down and re-architect.
But we all wish we could, because we know if we could do it again, we can do it right. And that's almost never the option. You know, we're always stuck with legacy. And it's like Windows is full of DOS code, and it will be for years. There's too much of it. You can't go back and start over. But sure, we all wish we would. You know, we would do it right. Although maybe we do it wrong, because now there are so many competing interests. You know, we're building an architecture of the Internet. You know, we're constantly building it and changing it. And the question is it going to be one that'll foster freedom or foster control? And there are 100 little decisions. And I talk about this in my latest book. The entity that gets to make the decision will make it in a way that benefits them. If the media companies control the net infrastructure, they'll build an infrastructure that makes them more powerful. if the free software people control the infrastructure, they'll build an infrastructure that supports freedom. It's all about who gets to build the code.
Hopefully it's the people we like.
Yeah,
I'd be a little opinionated there. Thanks, Bruce. Bruce Schneier, CTO of Counterfeit Internet Security, and also a fine author. He's got a new book out called Beyond Fear. Learn more about the book, what Bruce has to say about the leading privacy issues in computing. Go to our website, screensavers.com. Bruce, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay where you are. There's a lot to cover when talking about privacy. We'll give you 5 quick tips to help you take back a little bit more of your privacy. And up next, learn how to protect your home network from unwanted hackers. All coming up when the Screensavers continues. Feel naked, exposed in the middle of the schoolyard, wondering why all the other kids were laughing? Your computer is sitting naked and exposed in the schoolyard if you're not running some kind of firewall between your home network and the internet.
Welcome to Secure Home Network 101.
How secure basic home networks? They're excited.
I know, they are excited.
Is it the naked or the securing the home network? Okay, we're just going to traipse right away from that one. Here's the thing, folks. Very basic, minimum, absolute must do. If you have a broadband connection, you need a firewall between your computers, your home network, and the internet. Now, there's something really simple and free. We like free. We're a big show on free. You use a Linksys router. I use a D-Link router because it was on sale. They do simple firewalling. It's not a great firewall. It's not a sophisticated firewall, but basic NAT, network address translation, and basically makes your systems relatively invisible and your home network relatively invisible to the internet.
This here's the Linksys right here you're talking about. And basically you just plug your broadband connection right into the back.
Yeah.
And then any machines in your home, you just plug them right into the other ports that they have right here.
We like that.
Pretty easy. Couldn't be easier.
Now, if you don't want to spend money, you've got lots of options. One thing you can do is build a smooth wall. Do we have the right system? XP2 up there. Smooth wall is something we talk about. It allows you to take an old home system and convert it into a pretty sophisticated Linux router and do it on the cheap. Absolutely free. We like smooth wall. It's good to set up, and it's a great way to set up a very sophisticated firewall between you and the world. Another thing you can do, some software we love, Zone Alarm from Zone Labs, free, and allows you, maybe if you have a single system or you don't want to go through the process of having to connect the box to the internet and then connect your systems to the box and create a network, Zone Alarm's a really, really good program.
Have to dig around for that version, though, because they do have a paid version as well, so make sure you dig around a little bit. Now, if you're using a Mac, as far as firewalls go, there's a really nice one built right in. All you have to do is go into your system preferences. I'll show you right here, and you click on Sharing. And once you go into the sharing there, you will see the Firewall tab here in the center. Click on that, and then just click Start Firewall. And then if there's any specific ports that you want to open up, like you can see here, personal file sharing, Windows sharing is port 139, you just check that box, and it'll allow you to then share through. There's all different types of things you might want to open up, depending on what you're doing with your machine, whether you're using it for an FTP server or you're doing some online gaming that requires a specific port.
And that's pretty much the firewall we wish was built into Windows XP. We make fun of the software firewall in Windows XP because it doesn't look at outgoing packets, only ingoing packets. But look, at the very least, if you have it turned on in Windows XP, it'll help protect your system. So go into your Network Connections tab, right? Right-click on, in this case, we're looking at wireless network connection. It works on all of them. Go to Properties. Click on that, and over all the way on the right, you'll see the Advanced tab. The Advanced tab, Internet Connection Firewall. Protect my computer or network by limiting or preventing access to the just check it, folks. Once it's checked, you've got a basic firewall in place.
And if you're having any problems, though, as far as things getting through, you can also go into the settings there and punch specific ports through that you need to access the net, like games and things of that nature.
We like that.
But we've heard Service Pack 2
will have a significantly improved firewall available for Windows XP. We can't wait to see Service Pack 2. We're looking forward to it shipping.
We've seen some screenshots, and it looks pretty cool.
We like that too. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really important. A wireless network is not as secure as a wired network. Wires, they're ugly, they're a pain, they tick off pretty much any family member that likes a sophisticated home environment if you can't pull them through the walls, but they're a lot more secure than a wireless connection. Wireless connections, they go through the walls out into the neighborhood, and while they call it Wired Equivalency Protocol, or WEP, which is the basic security built into every 802.11b device, it doesn't work so well.
Yeah, there's actually, shortly after WEP came out, or I'm not sure exactly how long until after it came out, but they cracked it.
Right.
And since they've cracked it, there's been a whole slew of tools available to help you crack WEP. One that I showed just here the day before yesterday, Kismac, and also AirSnort, and there's a few other ones out there now. but not a good thing if you're really concerned about your information.
One of the things we like to do in-house is to actually lock things down by MAC address, but the truth is if somebody's got a good snort tool, it's not so good to lock down by MAC addresses either. Either WEP or using a MAC address to lock down the connections on a Wi-Fi device. Well, it'll make it more secure. It'll take you out of the low-hanging fruit area.
Right.
It'll be more difficult to get into. But if you check this out, Kismac, look.
Here's
got the
Kismac.
addresses.
It's running in passive mode, meaning that all the packets that are floating around the net or around the studio right now are being captured. And if you look here, this is the MAC address. If you plug that into a computer that only requires you to have a certain MAC address, you can then connect to any network, basically called MAC spoofing, and get into their network, which
I can see my MAC address.
Yes, that is yours. There it is.
We're almost out of time. Number 4, keep software and firmware updated. This is crucial. Whether you're talking about Windows XP, use Windows Update. Whether you're talking about the firmware, which is the software that runs hardware devices like this, update them religiously, because as soon as an update is made available for a whole and any kind of device, whether it's a Linksys router or a Windows PC, everybody who might want to hack your system now knows about it, and you're at a strong, strong disadvantage if you haven't patched it. Finally,
don't be too paranoid.
Yeah, the truth is probably nobody wants inside of your home network. They don't care about your Quicken files. And your worst case scenario is that annoying 14-year-old kid that hasn't been outside in 4 months because he's been playing video games is probably looking around your system for MP3s if you don't have something in between your systems and your cable modem. But do yourself a favor. You don't want to find out that, somebody was using, like your neighbor was using your wireless connection to download all of their MP3s, and you're getting a phone call from the RIAA. That would be bad. Cover basic security. Keep, basic security. It's safer. It's better. Trust us.
Yes. Log on to thescreensavers.com and get the tutorial to help you protect your home network from intruders, along with links to download all these free goodies that we showed you today. Now, coming up after the break. What are you doing, Pat? Coming up after the break, an hour really isn't enough time to jam in all privacy protection tips we wanted to share, so we're going to squeeze 5 more in right after these messages.
Be sure to catch tomorrow's show, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Comedian Mike Daisy's perils while setting up a home Wi-Fi We can't read today. Wi-Fi, Mike Daisy, Hysteria, Will and Sue, plus the top 5 spam emails selling stuff you can download for free. I hate spam. Plus, play Far Cry against us in the LAN party. It is all coming up on tomorrow's show. The special Fundamental Reading Edition.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, boy.
You're having a hard time today.
You ever one of those days where just the whole reading thing just goes away? Today we talked about how to take back your privacy. We don't have enough time to explore every issue, even half the issues, in an hour-long show. So we got a list of 5 more ways to take back your privacy we didn't have time for. Don't know if we can get them all in this segment, but we got them all up on the website so you can check them out.
Number 1.
Eliminate spyware.
Eliminate spyware. One of our favorite programs, Adaware. 6.0 personal right here.
Yes.
You install this, and for people that don't know what spyware or adware is, it's basically you download a shareware application, or you click yes on a strange ActiveX pop-up. It installs a little piece of software behind the scenes that randomly pops up ads. That's what adware is. You'll be browsing a certain site, and a competitor's pop-up will come around that site. Sometimes it's the website you're browsing, but a lot of the times it can be adware.
Or sometimes maybe you accidentally, checked a yes on an install, and suddenly you find out you can't get back your favorite homepage because it keeps getting replaced by stupid browser search that doesn't work because it keeps pointing you to stuff you don't want anyway.com. It's really annoying. It's invasive. A lot of spyware actually can track what's going on in your system, where you browse, and report it to people. I don't like that.
You sound like you have experience with this. Are you the guy that clicks on those boxes that you're not supposed to?
No.
Okay, so here's the Adaware Personal. Fire it up. Click on Scan Now. This is the free edition. Click on Next. It's going to scan through your entire system looking for ad and spyware, and it'll also scan through your registry looking for certain registry keys that are ad or spyware related.
It's going to take a while. What's really important, and we can't emphasize this enough, is both these applications and any other application used for spyware has to be updated. There's new spyware constantly. It's kind of like the information inside of your antivirus software.
That's why I like McAfee's new anti-spyware, which keeps it up to date all the time and it detects in real time. Another great application we'll put a link to there. Number 2, use anonymous browsing.
At least if you want to be anonymous when you're browsing.
Yes, we recommend it. What's a good one we like? Anonymizer is probably our favorite. It's a great little service. You fire it up, and you can install an application, bundles it right into the browser, and then no matter where you go, any website, it's going to go through a proxy and make all of your surfing habits completely anonymous. This is good for when you're trying to surf at work and you don't want work to know what you're doing. It keeps everything.
Do you trust it? Do you feel that it's really secure between your and
it'll
this?
create,
Is it encrypted?
Yeah, we'll create an encrypted connection and actually, jarble up everything so that there's no way, even if you have a packet sniffer that's running and capturing all the information that you're surfing, they're never going to be able to find out where you really went because it's masking all of that.
We like that. Number
cool.
3, do yourself a favor, avoid identity theft. Don't laugh. Take identity theft seriously. It's one of the biggest crimes going on in America, and it's really easy to commit the crime. All they got to do is find out, your name, your home address, maybe a credit card number, maybe your social security number. Check your credit reports at least once every 6 months. Be careful about who you give your personal information to.
And there's also those new disposable credit cards, which are kind of cool, that you can have. Just put a certain amount of cash on them, and then if you're going to a shady site, you don't know who's behind it, use that card just in case they try to use it for something else.
Better be burnt for a $500 credit limit than a $5,000 credit limit. Folks, we got a ton of stuff up on the website you should check out. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take your emails and your final questions right after these fine messages. In case we haven't made it abundantly clear, we have a ton of stuff to help protect your privacy online on your computer and basically when you're running around the world up at thescreensavers.com. So do us a favor, kick by there and look for the stuff we got posted because there's stuff
we ran out of time
talk about today.
Yeah, we had quite a few things we wanted to show, but we just, we got carried away. Patrick starts talking, blah, 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 and you run out of time. I'm kidding, Big Pat. It's like a giant teddy bear.
Ready for some email?
Yes, please.
Okay. I would like to know what I'm better off with. Built-in firewall with NXP, internet security from Norton, or the free version of Zone Alarm. And if the free version isn't good, what's the advantage to the pay-for version?
Okay.
3 answers in one.
All in favor of paying money for Norton Internet security? That's the one guy that got broken into this week. 2, Zone Alarm, free firewall, great. What does the pay versions add on it? Go to the Zone Alarm website and learn all the exciting things it'll do. At the very, very minimum, turn on the firewall in Windows XP.
Yeah.
Better yet, run Zone Alarm. In terms of paying for a firewall, don't pay for Norton Internet security. It's not our favorite.
McAfee has a pretty cool one. The cool thing about these is that you can download free trials. Download a free trial, check it out, see if it's for you. If you like it, the features, functionality that it has, and then go from there. Buy the one you like.
And also check out reviews if you can. Don't trust a firewall blindly. That can be a little scary to do because some of them ain't written so well.
That's true.
Sarah?
All right. Next one comes from No Name. I want to download music legally using a program I found that charges $1 a month. iTunes, maybe. I'm willing to pay this fee and sign up, but I'm concerned about my credit card number. What's the deal?
$1 a month for a music download service.
Is it end with a strange .foreign country URL? Because you smell scam?
Yeah, I smell scam for sure.
There ain't no way you get to download music for $1 a month, not legally. So it sounds like not only a great way to either get in trouble with the RIAA, since they seem to like to sue people so much, it sounds like a great way to give someone your credit card number and try to figure out why you've just paid for $30,000 worth of Mercedes in some small country you've never heard of. Or, in some part of the United States. I'd say avoid it.
Yeah, I'd say avoid it as well.
iTunes, nice option.
Yes, indeed.
And many other competitors.
You can get one song, though.
Well, or you can go peer-to-peer and roll the dice on that.
There you go.
Nothing.
That works for
your
me.
Credit card security.
That's it for this edition of Screensavers. I'm Kevin Rose.
And I'm Patrick Norton. Thanks for joining us. We'd like to thank our guests, John Perry Barlow and Bruce Schneier. We'll see you next time, folks. Have a great night.
Have a great night.